Good day and a very warm welcome from all of us here at iSQI. We would like to present to you today a webinar on CABA or RE Agile, requirements in Agile, which training fits me best. And for that, we have two people speaking to you today. First of all, you hear me. My name is Frank Frambach. I'm the Managing Director for iSQI in the Netherlands. And in a moment, I'll introduce Hans van Loenhout, who's our expert for today, and he will take you through the content of our presentation today. Before we go there, I would like to tell you a little bit about iSQI. For those who are not yet familiar with us, iSQI, or International Software Quality Institute, is a global certification body. We operate worldwide, have offices in Germany, the Netherlands, UK, and USA. And our focus historically is on software testing. That's our base, where we came from, but also quality, business value, and all related portfolio. So therefore, we have a very extensive portfolio with a lot of certifications. Think of things like iSQI, but even modern things, very new things like DevOps, DASA. On the map here below, you can see that we work with a lot of testing boards across the world, across the globe, and therefore cover a majority of the globe with certification for software testing. Just a little bit more about numbers in iSQI. Average on year, we certify about 30,000 IT professionals in a network of 250 accredited training providers who train a lot of these people. There are also people who do self-study and then go for a certification, which is possible. We have over 500 examiners or invigilators around the globe who conduct the exams for our partners, our training providers. And in our delivery, we have several ways, like, for instance, the traditional paper-based, but also electronic exams or test centers like Pearson VUE, where a candidate can sit the test. iSQI certifies professionals in more than 100 countries around the world, so that is quite a lot. And in our portfolio, we have approximately 50 recognized, internationally recognized certifications. So a very extensive portfolio and reaching a lot of the part of the world. That's a little bit about ourselves, about iSQI. I would like to tell you a little bit more about the operational side of the session today. All participants are on mute, and that's done so that the presentation is not interrupted too much. But obviously, if you have questions, which we understand, then please enter it into the questions box that you see on the right-hand side of your screen. All questions will be collected and will be used at the end of the presentation to give you the further information that you need. As we see questions coming in, should they be relevant immediately, obviously we will use them immediately and interrupt Hans to explain more. Then, should you have any technical difficulties, audio or whatever else, then please also put that in the questions box, as we have support standing by to help you out there. We aim to do the whole presentation in approximately 30 minutes. Maybe we have a minute or two more, but approximately 30 minutes. And we will record this session so that it can be reviewed later, either for people who were not able to make it today, or if you would like to revisit the content, that's definitely possible. So I'd like to now introduce Hans van Loenhout, our expert. Hans will further introduce himself in a moment, and Hans will take you through the content today, and at the end we'll go back and visit the questions that you've put forward to us. So I'll see you on the other side of Hans's presentation, and I'd like to hand over to Hans now. Thank you very much.
Okay, Frank, thank you very much for your warm introduction. I'm really a little bit flattered that you call me an expert, but yes, requirements is one of my hobbies, and I am very delighted to be able to tell something about it for such a broad audience. Today we're going to talk about requirements, and that's something that I've been doing for the last 5 years. I've been in IT for more than 35 years, but the last years I'm concentrating on requirements engineering, and I do that mainly as a trainer coach for different courses on that part, among others the CABA and the RE Agile course that we discussed today. And I'm a member of the International Requirements Engineering Board, which is a worldwide organization that maintains the body of knowledge on requirements engineering. Today we'll talk about the different subjects. I'll first start with an introduction on requirements in agile projects and why that is something that sometimes gives us some issues. And then we'll compare CABA and RE Agile as two courses that can help people to gain more insight in how to deal with requirements in agile projects. And well, then we have two courses that you could follow. So one would ask, which one should I choose in my situation? And we'll end the webinar to answer that question. But let's look into requirements. They are often neglected in agile projects as people think that's the sole responsibility of the product owner. And who's that then, the product owner in an agile project? It's usually someone who comes from the business and has a management role there, but is full time freed up from his management tasks to be assigned to the agile project. The role of the product owner is first of all to represent the business in the agile team, not only his own department, but the whole business. And the product owner should know all ins and outs of all stakeholders involved, because he's an expert in his profession and he can exactly tell the team what the things are to be developed. He, of course, must know everything about IT, design, programming, testing, maintenance, and also about the agile way of working. That's why he's a product owner. So the responsibility of the product owner is also on requirements. He must be an expert on the requirements, on the questions that are assigned to the agile team, and in that way he's responsible for the product backlog. If you see this whole thing about the product owner, well, he must be a Superman, and often he isn't. So I would ask, when I see a list like this, do you believe in fairy tales? I don't. These kind of product owners, I seldom meet them in real life. And because of the little attention that is paid to requirements in agile projects, 4 common misunderstandings are met when you talk to people in agile projects. The first one, in the left upper corner, is the idea that upfront is evil. Due to the problems that we met in waterfall projects, we think in agile that we shouldn't document things upfront. The requirements must evolve during the sprints. But this is a misconception. Also in an agile project, you need some goal on the horizon, a dot on the horizon where you go, a product vision, a theme that you work on. So something about requirements must be done upfront. You can postpone some more details for later on, but you must do upfront work for requirements engineering. The next one is about user stories, the upper right, 2 birds talking about a story. We think, or many agile teams think, that just documenting some user stories is enough to give all clarity about requirements. But user stories concentrate on functionality. And when you only put down some user stories on paper, then you forget all things like non-functionals, like acceptance criteria, like whatever. So there's more than only user stories. And the waste basket on the left is the misunderstanding about documentation. Well, many agile teams say that documentation is waste and you should avoid all documentation. This is not true. This is a misunderstanding. some things should be documented. Whenever you have to transfer knowledge over time and space, documentation is useful. The only thing is, related to the problems and the issues in waterfall project, don't document too much. Only document things that are useful for the product. Don't document just for documentation, but decide on what to document and what not to document, and when to document it. And the last misconception is the idea that it's only working software that counts. But projects should develop more than only working software. For instance, increasing knowledge, developing procedures, writing handbooks. All these things also need extension, and all these things also have their requirements. So when you look at requirements, it's the basis for each IT development. And usually in Agile projects, we document it as a user story. Who needs what for which end? In a role as a certain function, I want some functionality to realize a certain goal. And that's quite simple. Describing just a single user story is quite simple. But when you have to oversee and manage a complete product backlog of all user stories, and you want to keep it consistent throughout the whole project, that's quite a tough task, because there are different levels of detail. You have themes, you have features, you have epics, you have storage, you have task and acceptance criteria, and you have different ways of expressing the needs of the customer. A vision, a scope, goals, the division between functional requirements, non-functional requirements, quality requirements, constraints. All this has to be managed through this product backlog. And that's not something some manager from the business who has never done this before and is now a project can do all by itself. So you need professionalism. It's a professional task, and you need expertise to do so. Then we come to the question, where do we find this expertise? Well, there are two existing bodies of knowledge that we could refer to. The first one is from the IREB, the International Institute of Business Analysis, and the second one is the body of knowledge that is maintained by the International Requirements Engineering Board. They are partly different, they are partly overlapping. And from these two bodies of knowledge, two different courses on requirements engineering Agile project have been developed. The first one is the CABA, the Certified Agile Business Analyst, and the second one is the RE Agile, the requirements engineering at Agile projects. And these two courses are the subject of my webinar today. Let's first take a look at CABA. CABA is about business analysis in Agile context and is developed by iSQI Specials Interest Group, iSQI Agile Teaming. But it's based on a book that has been published by IREB about the Agile extension to the BABUK. BABUK is the business analysis body of knowledge. It's a course that takes 3 or 4 day parts, so in fact 2 days, and it ends with a certification exam of 40 multiple choice questions that have to be done in 1 hour or even 25% more if you're not a native speaker. And you have to score 65% or more to pass. The contents of this course has 4 main chapters. The first one is what is business analysis, in fact, and what is Agile. Then it zooms in on certain Agile approaches, but the core of this course is on several business analysis techniques from the BABA guide and how to apply them in Agile projects. And is divided in 2 frameworks, the discovery framework and the delivery framework. It contains some introductory theory. It contains some mock exam questions, and it contains some exercises to make this theory more vivid, more alive. So let's look into these topics in more detail. The chapter on business analysis relates to the role of the business analyst in an agile project, the scope of business analysis, and the competencies that a business analyst must possess. The chapter on agile is also an introductory chapter, compares the traditional waterfall software development lifecycle with the approach that is based on the Agile Manifesto and the 12 Agile principles that underlie all Agile approaches. Then the Agile approaches themselves. This chapter focuses on Scrum and on extreme project programming, and it tells something about Kanban and Lean as two other different ways to look at Agile. And then it goes into detail on the roles that exist in an Agile team and how a business analyst can work in an Agile team. But the core of the course is the business analysis techniques. And it first starts to compare the BABOK, the whole guide on business analysis techniques and how they relate to Agile, in the Agile extension. And then the course introduces the Agile frameworks. First, the discovery framework. And I think for me that is the most interesting part of this course. It says something about see the whole overview, how a certain project fits into the business, what are the business capabilities, what are the personas, the people that the project is developed for, and it's about the value that the project, the delivery of the project will be for the organization in value stream mapping. Then a second subject is think as a customer, which is about user stories, how to elaborate them in story decomposition, how to make storyboards that show the flow of the stories, how to map stories into different themes and releases, etc. And the last topic is about what is of value, the product backlog, how to manage it, and how to define business value from deliverables from an Agile project. Then the delivery framework, that's a little bit more close to the development part of an Agile project. It starts with get real using examples, behavior-driven development. Then a topic on understand what's doable, about estimation, about planning workshops. And for me, an interesting topic is also the idea of real options. Decide when you have to decide something. Don't decide everything up front, but carefully select the moments on which you must make a design decision. We have a topic on collaborative games and on retrospectives, and we have a small topic on waste, about the theory of lean and just-in-time development. If you compare that to RE at Agile from the IREB body of knowledge, this is developed by the IREB working group RE at Agile and is published in a syllabus and study guide that you could download at the website of IREB, ireb.org. It's a course that usually can be done in 2 day parts, and it ends with an exam of 22 multiple choice questions to be completed in 40 minutes with a score of more than 70%. It also contains 4 different chapters on motivation, on the fundamentals, on the artifacts, and on certain organizational aspects. Also some theory. The handbook doesn't describe anything on the exercise and the discussions, because IREB leaves that to the training providers that can develop their own courses based on this syllabus. And it has an online self-assessment where candidates can check whether or not they have mastered the topics of this course by themselves before going for the real exam. So let's look into the topics. The motivation part goes on the core values of RE Agile. Why would you develop in Agile? Why would you pay attention to requirements engineering? How can you combine them together to the RE Agile approach? And it takes a short look to related modern development approaches like design thinking, the design think, a sprint, or the lean startup initiatives. In the fundamentals, this training pays attention to Scrum and the role of product owners. They also look into continuous processes like continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous deployment, continuous requirements engineering. And it pays attention to the fact that Agile projects are usually value-driven. We must develop value, we must deliver value to our stakeholders, but also to the key values of Agile like simplicity and continuous improvement. In the artifacts and techniques chapter, this training gives you a broad overview of all kinds of artifacts, for instance, for the product vision or for the description of the context of the project, etc. And it gives you some techniques that you could use in an Agile environment for elicitation, for documentation, for validation of requirements, and for management of it. And I found it quite interesting, the last chapter on organizational aspects. It tells you that organization needs to have a certain maturity to be able to do a real, to get a real value out of Agile approaches. And about the customer-centered context. And it pays a lot of attention to scalability. For instance, with the SAFe approach, but there are also other approaches to scale up when Agile projects grow. And last but not least, this training pays due attention to the division between upfront things that you have to do and things that you could postpone and do continuously during your sprints. And it's really practical to have some guidance for this kind of work. And in fact, based on the RE Agile handbook, we have developed an RE manifesto comparable to the Agile manifesto. And it says, of course, techniques, models, and templates that are developed in what I would call the classical requirements engineering approach are important, but to get true, genuine empathy for the client's needs is even more important. Comprehensive elicitation of all requirements is important, but the creative process to design solutions creates real value. Some upfront specification is really necessary to have a goal for your project, but in time elaboration of the details when in the course of a project and over the sprints more knowledge is developed is a success factor. And at the end, proper documentation is useful, but shared understanding within the team, but also with the stakeholders that are affected by the Agile project is the key for success. So the success factors are on the left, the basic factors are on the right. So that's what I would like to tell you about these courses. But now you're left up with the question, well, if I'm working in an Agile team, what should I choose? And in fact, the CABA course gives you the most hand grip on that. For instance, the CABA says, well, there is a relation between seniority of a business analyst and the organizational impact. And they say for system improvement, and that's about requirements elicitation, requirements documentation, requirements management. Well, you don't need to be very senior as a business analyst, and your organizational impact is relatively limited. A step further on the seniority and on the impact scale is about process improvement, like process modeling, analysis, redesign. And the highest demands on seniority, but also the highest impact, is on enterprise improvement, with, for instance, strategies, objective, critical success factors, value chain analysis, etc. And if you depict both courses on this graphic, then you see that CABA concentrates on process improvement and does also things on enterprise improvement, but pays little attention to systems improvement. While RE Agile starts on system improvement and also does part of process improvement, but leaves the enterprise improvement to the what I would call the true senior business analysis. You could also look at the level of planning, starting from the strategic plan up to the daily plans in sprint, with on a strategic plan enterprise strategies, etc. For instance, on a product level, product vision, on a release level, minimal viable projects, etc. And then the CABA says from the release planning upwards, it's up to the development team, and the business analyst is also interested in the more strategic parts. And when you once again map both courses on it, CABA goes from the strategic level up to the release level, while RE Agile starts from the product level and goes up even to the daily plans in daily stand-up. And once again, if you look in the internal and the external environment of a project, CABA focuses on the initial backlog and how to manage it and how to pull things from the backlog, while RE Agile is much closer to the work of a daily of a sprint team in an Agile project. So, but this is my personal opinion that I would like to share with you. If you are working in an Agile team project and your main goal is to do something about vision, about strategy, about supporting multiple Agile teams, then you get more benefit out of the CABA course. If you're more working in an Agile team in practice, you do the execution of requirements engineering there, your first choice should be the RE Agile Primer. And remember, both trainings are introductory. They're on the Bloom taxonomy level, remember. So they give you a survey of terminology, of scopes, of methods and techniques, but they don't go into depth. And if you want to go more into depth, then from CABA, there's only the CBAP as the next step, the Certified Business Analyst Professional, which is a general body of knowledge of things that you could do as a business analyst, but it's not focusing on Agile. While from the RE Agile Primer, you could go for the Certified Professional in Requirements Engineering at the foundation level, which is also a general training, but from there you could go on to the RE Agile advanced level that is also offered by IREB. So I think you could benefit from both courses. Depending on your role, you could choose for one. You could also combine them. And I really am sure that requirements are an important thing to pay attention to in an agile project. And you can't expect that a product owner can do it all by himself. So everybody in an agile team should have knowledge and have a professional way of working for agile, and that could really be part of the success factor for an agile team. And from that, that's the point in which I want to conclude my webinar today. And if you have questions, I would like to hand over to Frank again, and he can give me an overview of the questions that you have put into the chat box. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Hans. That was very clear. Good overview of both programs. And we did indeed receive a couple of questions, so I'd like to run them by you now, if you may. So the first question is from a person who says that he's a developer, or she. I didn't see that clearly, but this person is a developer in an agile team. And they say that you said that RE at Agile fits best for that role. Should they then also be interested in CABA or not?
Yeah, that's a personal question, of course. It depends. CABA gives you the overview. If you want to know how your project fits into the strategy of your company, then CABA is really useful. And if you're a designer, if you're an architect or something, I think CABA would also give you a benefit. If you're only or completely a developer within a team, well, your first choice should be RE at Agile, I think. Okay,
clear. Thank you very much. Then the next question is, I'm already certified for CABA and IREB. Is it still worth to follow CABA or RE at Agile or both?
Well, if you're a CABA professional, I think CABA could give you some interesting views on how to apply the knowledge that you already have in an agile project. So I think CABA would really be useful for you. It gave me a lot of insight in how agile teams could apply all kinds of business analysis techniques. If you are CPRE certified, I think you won't get much benefit from the RE at Agile primer, and you could step directly to the RE at Agile advanced level, where you certainly will learn new things that you could apply in your work.
Okay, perfect. Then the next question is from a product owner, and this person asks whether the trainings are also meant for the product owner themselves or only directed at the IT professionals.
Well, once again, that's a personal question, a personal view. I think, well, a product owner should be is positioned as a Superman, and you can't be a Superman. Well, because you have all your work in your business to do, and because both trainings are introductory, I think you will benefit from it. If you want to give direction to an agile team and, well, discuss with them what their daily work should be, I think you will really benefit from an RE at Agile course. If you want to see how your project fits into the benefits and problems of your company, and how to develop more value from an agile project, I think you will benefit from CABA. And they're both introductory. They're not really IT focused. So also, if you have no IT background, you can follow them and you will understand what they want to say. So you will certainly benefit from them.
Perfect. Looking at the time, we've used a little bit more than our 30 minutes, but I'm just going to finish with one last one. And this is more a combination of a statement and a question than just only a question. This person says, you state upfront is evil as a misconception about requirements. But if that's true, all the upfront work was the biggest problem in the waterfall, causing inflexibility and killed many projects. What would you say to that?
Yeah, right. The idea in a waterfall project that you should document and elaborate every requirement in the first analysis phase, well, that gave a lot of inflexibility and problems in waterfall projects. So that's why I'm a great and I'm very enthusiastic about agile projects. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do any upfront work. Upfront on things like the vision, the overall objectives, the themes that you have to develop is really necessary. But the trick is, or the benefit is from deciding when to elaborate things. If you start elaborating requirements too early, then you kill your flexibility. And if you decide to do it too late, then you are drifting around and developing circles. So, and that's why both of these courses give you nice hand grips on that. When to decide what you elaborate in time.
So the key is almost balance, I would think.
Yeah. Just in time.
Perfect.
Do it just in time, but do it deliberately just in time. Think about it and decide on it.
Yeah, exactly, and be agile as you go.
Yes, indeed.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Hans. Now, finally, just to end off, I would like to show you our contact details. Should you have any questions, then obviously you can reach us. Myself, my name is Frank Frambach from iSQI, and you just heard Hans van Loonhout as our presenter from his own company and for the IREB board. Once more, thank you very much for your attention today. We hope to see you again on one of our other webinars soon. Please follow our site where you can see all the ones that are coming up, or register any which way, and you will be kept in touch about all new upcoming events. Thank you once again, and goodbye.
Thank you very much, and bye-bye.